What's good, YouTube, and welcome to the house. This is the video a ton of you guys have been waiting for from me. I have dual overload case ratios by the freaking bucket load. We have 60 cases from the USA, as well as 145 from the EU. And on the screen is YBM's 60 cases here. And when I'm looking through, there are some differences from the EU and USA, but oddly enough, I feel like it favors the USA for once when we're looking at this. So this kind of interesting. And in other places, of course, it does favor the EU, but let's go ahead and look through what they pulled. And I think some of this could be natural variance as well. So the USA has only given me their short prints overall and not their overprints, but this is what the average pull should be in a perfect world, which we know Konami will never give us. 12 total boxes with 30 cards per box in a case is 360 cards. You move that decimal placement to 2 points. You should have an average of 3.6 of every card. Of course, there's RNG and variants, but there's also short prints. So the Bujin Link by far was their least seen card, but I feel like any of these are interchangeable at this point. I feel like you could have any of these pop up as the shortest, but I did see that Reddit was very mad. I've been hanging around Reddit a lot more lately, by the way. Condemned Dark Lord is one of the shortest prints. Now, I don't think this is going to necessarily affect a lot of the prices. When we look at the top selling from TCG, they just put out their data yesterday that as the set is dropping, Halifabrax is the most selling card still. For an expensive card, that's insane. That shows how many people anticipate and want this. Cross Sheep is still way up there. Then you have Verte Anaconda, Union Carrier, and Almirage. But you're going to have a wave of competition starting today and going on through a week of people undercutting each other and undercutting each other. And do you really think just because Condemned Dark Lord's one of the shorter cards, oh, I have less of these, that people aren't going to want to chuck them out the window and take $1 for them or whatever they can get? This isn't going to be a very expensive card. Don't worry too much about it being down here. Madolce Pudding Cess Chocolate a la mode, a one of it in the extra deck. Not everyone's going to be hunting that down, and tons of people are going to have it. Five-Headed Dragon Link. We have Tenyi Spirit. So this is kind of interesting on how short it is. But I want to point out there is a lot of clumping, I've been told. So you can open a case and it can be way better than the ratios I'm showing you. I would either be going after the singles or buy the case load. I would not be going for just a couple of boxes, unless it's to support your locals during these trying times under the Crush card. That being said, look at this, 1.5, that means like I open a case, maybe I see one of them, or I see two of them, and that's how it averages out. Union Carrier is kind of the dark horse to be the most expensive in the set, and it does seem shorter over here than the other big boy Link monsters. Levianeer is pretty short, which means that it could help the ultimate rare maintain some pricing, but I don't know about the secret rare because there's still going to be a lot of out there versus what's played, but I would be looking to pick these up sooner than later. That being said, Cyber Emergency, I'm really hoping this does fall towards $10 playsets, but people will be after this by the playset, similar to Levianeer. But even more so because if you're playing Cyber Dragons, you want 3 of them things. And when I'm seeing this, man, I am getting a little worried for its price point, but I'm still calling that competition will bring this down to $10 playsets. Nobody likes to lose on a card. Nobody wants to sell it too cheap, but versus getting your money back, paying overhead, locals being closed right now, vendors are going to need their money and they're going to be making their sales. Awakening of the Possessed, pretty low here. Witchcraft or Creation. So this is one of the, actually these two cards are the first parts where I noticed, well, hey, ratios are a little different from the EU. So let's get into spoilers and what maybe you really care about. We see that in the EU, Levianeer, bit easier to get. Witchcraft or Creation, bit easier to get. Sign Up Mining, a little easier. This seems like it could just be completely variance, but it's funny that, you know, over at tier 0 they pulled more total, and in the Yugi Tuber opening they didn't pull a single one. Magellin, a little easier to get. We also see that Mecha Phantom Beast the Link, well, we have some stuff going on there. It's easier to get. But Artifact Dagda, 1.48.1 versus 1.98. So this seems really way shorter over in the EU. And then Halifabrax similarly. I know your eyes were already going down there. it's very much shorter in the EU than the USA, almost to where Union Carrier was. Sarveus is easier to get, Dragoon. So a lot of these I could tell because I only have the shorts from the USA, so I don't know what's necessarily a lot shorter over in the EU, but it's a lot of winning on stuff that doesn't matter as much, like Caspar, and we also see Starfire, both far easier to get, not short printed at all, in fact overprinted in the EU versus shorted in the US. Same with Chaos Goddess if you were looking to collect her, or Stealth Union. Omega was a big one. Omega almost double in the EU versus the USA, and I think that's a card that has a lot of potential to go up here soon, as well as Last Warrior from Another Planet, shorted in the US, not at all in the EU. But we'll continue to go down through the list. That's just a note. There are differences in these cases, but it's not like in the past with Legendary Collection Kaiba where the difference is, oh my gosh, it's Droll Lockbird. But Needle Fiber shorted in both places, but way harder it feels like in the EU. That's kind of alarming. When we look through and continue, we see that, you know, we get towards the 2s, and it really holds together here. Like, I feel like any of these are interchangeable, but it's an average of about 2 per case. We see Armor Lyle, the Predaplant Link, Celine, a lot of these really feel good card. Lib, you see Phantasme and Imperm lining up together, Zeke, Stromberg. A lot of the better cards are more looked for reprints happen to be just around here. I'm glad they're not the shortest for the USA like the Carrier of Link, but man, it still feels bad. It feels bad to see half of a freaking set underestimated pulls, but we should have learned from Duel Power, right? We should have known this was coming. We see a ton of the links end up in here. We have the, like I said, Witchcrafter, Magical Muskets from the USA, short printed once again. Halifibrax, though, not so bad. Not so bad. It's okay. It's gonna be all right? But this is actually pretty good per case versus what I expected. I expected it to end up as one of the shortest, like the Bujin link, and it's nice to see it here. All the altar arts end up on this list, it looks like, and then, like I said, from the spoilers, Omega, etc. When we look at how it lines up with the EU, they don't have it sorted for me as much, but you see that the short prints, I've searched them all, most of them are the same, except for, you know, what I showed on screen, and then you see massive overprints here as well. So when you see the overprints, you can just see how bad it is for 145 cases to give you like 745 white strokes, but that's a card I'm happy to see overprinted. So, like, while I'm complaining, there's some things I'm very happy to see overprinted versus you guys who might have actually jumped at the $18 ones I told you not to jump on. Yeah, this is why you don't always just jump in. You make your calls with pre-orders, but you see that Celine is still, you know, under that 3 per case mark. A lot of these end up in the same place. So I'm just going to scroll through here kind of slowly so that you guys can pause on any cards if you want. You see that all the altar arts here end up shorted all together as well. It's nothing too crazy compared to the past, besides Needle Fiber being, you know, even shorter. So with the sales rates and what's going on over there and how people are treating the set, it's crazy that on TCG Player the top sales happen to be so expensive. But I want to show you guys something. We just had 7 sellers the other day from pre-sales on Halifibrax that were tired out, that had sold a ton of their inventory. Now you're going to get tons of people coming out here, and you see Chow Productions still listing massive quantities here, but he's gonna get undercut, and then other people are gonna undercut those undercutters. Impermanence, yeah, it's not gonna be, you know, $45 play sets. It feels like maybe it'll bottom out at 18 lowest thanks to competition, but people really want play sets of this card, and it is flying out of here. And Phantasme down towards 15. There's an I called it. This is pretty nice to see, and with Master Rule 5 coming, it's more stuck in the side deck than the main deck, but there's still gonna be tons of people playing Link strategies. Don't give up on this card too early. Sign Up Mining holding around its pre-sale prices. I feel like Union Carrier's undervalued, especially for the USA market. I feel like this is something you go ahead and you get. You don't hold off on this card, especially if you have any plans for ABCs or decks that might play it. They're not going to hit it out the gate. You want access to this. Cyber Emergency, a lot of the sellers found out their card is shorted when they did their openings. I really hope for $10 play sets, but when this card released and it was shorted in Battles of Legend with only 1 printing, it was $18. That's why I feel like $10 playsets are realistic. It just may not happen because of how competition goes, but we'll see. We have a week and a half for the set to kind of fall out and really settle. Celine, very anticipated, very wanted, and shorted. 5, that's pretty good for a short print, I think. So with competition from the set, you already see the fallout. You see things very available despite being very short, and you can really pick and choose what you want now, but don't wait too long to go in. By the way, I don't know how they're offering free shipping with these cards. They're pretty big and sizable, but they're just trying to get rid of them. I have tons of these, please take them, is what's going to be happening with these giant cards. So if you're scared that they're going to go up late, they're not. Trust me, this is one of the most open sets of all times. These, even with the RNG, are comparable to the game boards from Legendary Collections. People just want them out of their house. But yeah, Condemned Dark Lord, yeah, super shorted to something. I think it'll continue to fall. I don't think you have to worry too much about this. It's the top cards changing positions that you might have to worry about. And oh boy, does that smell good. That smells like a win for the players on Y-Strix. So while short printing overall is terrible, there's some silver linings. There's definitely some wins to be had from overprinting. Let me know what you guys think of all the ratios and the differences this year that Konami picked. I really wonder who sits around from both offices and are like, yeah, this one, that one, this one, like, who does this is what I want to know, because this year was very interesting, and I just want to pick your brain a little. Please subscribe if you haven't already. Give this video a thumbs up if you enjoy the conversation. As always, trying to source this out for the community so that you guys can know what's going on, but I don't think there's going to be too much craziness. A lot of the community expected the top cards to be shorted, and that's what happened. And while it is half the set and you're going to pull a bunch of jank, like, you know, that's what we kind of expected from the set versus the past Konami, and that's why the market was so pretty much on point early on, but some prices are still going to be falling out from here. The chase cards, though, guess what? They are cards original to the set, like somebody said, although I think impermanence might start to overtake the Anaconda. We'll just have to wait and see.